got the clock, and that would bring us to our first jam of the bout with Gurrar jamming for the Jet City Roller Girl Bombers against Betty Aim.
Fire. Betty Aim Fire jamming for Emerald City. Gets knocked out by Nasty Nikki Nightstick. Gurrar escaping the Emerald City defense. She is lead jammer in the first jam. Betty Aim Fire sees an outside lane judo chop screened off by aerial strike. That opens up the door for Betty Aim Fire to get out of the back, but here's Gurrar on her first scoring pass. Gets knocked out by Lauren Neal, comes back in, slams into Rockarola, stopped in her tracks. And now Gurrar goes to the penalty box. I believe that was a major back block penalty. And now it's a power jam for Emerald City. Emerald City in the white and green. The Bombers in the blue and white. Betty Aim Fire is on her second scoring pass. Stuck behind Trixie's trashing him and Nasty Nikki Nightstick. Nasty Nikki Nightstick taking her to the outside but runs out of room. Has to give her the free pass, and this time it's a grand slam for Emerald City. 9 points so far for the ladies in white and green. Betty Aim Fire all the way around again. Marilyn Gunho and Trixie's trash. I'm trying to stop her, but once again running out of room with the limpid sausage defensive offense. And Marilyn Gunho now going to the penalty box. Probably an out of play major, but I missed that call.
I believe it was a forearm on Marilyn, and there's nowhere for her to sit, so she's back on the track. Out of play, I believe, was Nikki.
That's right, so the Jet City Bombers starting out with lead jammer, but now just lining it up in the penalty box. Betty Aim Fire comes through with another grand slam. That's 25 points. Of course, that very first scoring pass adjusted to a grand slam because Gurrar got sent to the penalty box at the time. And now Gurrar just out of the penalty box and goes straight back in. The Jet City Bombers struggling just to keep skaters on the track, and Betty Aim Fire having her way, gets another 4 points this time. And so Emerald City taking the early lead, 29 points. Jet City with only 2 points on the board so far.
Gurrar picking up a quick cutting of the track there as she just snuck. I think what looked like one skate went out as she was going around someone. Yeah. Unfortunately, the rules say the wheels stay inside the lines.
That's right. Even touching the paint on the inside of the track or the outside of the track, that will get you sent to the penalty box. Wonder Dread now jamming for Emerald City, taken down by Morticia Militia, number 34 of the Bombers, but Morticia Militia going to the penalty box.
And she'll have somewhere to sit as Nikki is now up and back in the game.
And Wonder Dread is lead jammer. Nasty Nikki Nightstick coming back in, and now Emerald City starting to get some penalties too. So it's a 2-on-2 pack, and Nasty Nikki Nightstick taking down Wonder Dread, but it's a major forearm on Nasty Nikki Nightstick, and she will get waved off. But right now it is a 2-on-1 pack. Jill Catino and Jalapeno going against Doll Dozer, and Doll Dozer unable to even make contact with Wonder Dread. Wonder Dread just having an easy grand slam. So far, I believe 9 points. The scoreboard hasn't been adjusted, so no, Emerald City has not scored 38 points so far this jam. Only 9 points.
That would be an impressive jam, though.
Wonder Dread coming through again, another grand slam. Gurrar out of the penalty box, gets around Rockarola, but that was her initial pass. So no points on the board in this jam so far for the Jet City Bombers. 14 points so far for Emerald City. Wonder Dread hits the back for a fourth time, but this time calls it off with Gurrar hot on her heels. So a 14-0 jam in jam number 2.
Jet City definitely having some trouble with the penalties, but as you mentioned earlier, Emerald City keeping up a bit, although now it appears Emerald City will be one skater light, as Jet City has one player in the box.
Medusa Harm, number 85, jamming against Ivana Hercha. Number 5 for Jet City. Ivana Hercha gets a round aerial strike number 12 and is out of there with lead jammer status. Medusa Harm gets a little help from Lauren Neal to get out of the pack, but she's got some catching up to do. Ivana Hercha racing around the track into scoring position and hits the pack. There's 3 Emerald City blockers. Lauren Neal muscling Ivana Hercha out of bounds. Ivana calling off the jam and is going to get 3 points. So Jet City winning this jam 3-0, bringing the score to 43-5. Emerald City.
Trixie's trashing him, sent to the box late in that jam. Now we have 2 down for Jet City and only 1 blocker sitting for Emerald.
That's right. So we've got Betty Aim Fire returning to the jammer line for Emerald City. Pippi Longstalker jamming for Jet City. Betty Aim Fire knocked out of bounds on the inside by Pippi Longstalker right off the first whistle. And now Pippi Longstalker in full defensive mode. But now forging ahead. Betty Aim Fire trying to follow along, but Dolldozer catches her on the inside line. Pippi Longstalker getting out for Jet City. She is lead jammer. Betty Aim Fire now going one-on-one with Dolldozer in the front of the pack. Dolldozer muscles to her to the outside, gets her out of bounds, but stumbles and allows Betty Aim Fire to come in front of her. But Morticia Militia is there to keep the genie in the bottle, not Bible. Pippi Longstalker, meanwhile, getting through the pack, completing her first scoring pass, a grand slam for Jet City, and a full lap ahead of Betty Aim Fire. Betty Aim Fire finally completing her initial pass. Now the pack 3-on-3 as Pippi Longstalker hits it for a 3rd time, or 2nd. Pippi Longstalker calling off the jam, gets 3 more points in that 2nd scoring pass, excuse me. So 8-0 in this jam for Jet City.
Coming up next, Gur Rar Rar back on the jammer line for Jet City up against Wonder Dread for Emerald. And the crowd chants Gur Rar Rar. Or at least one person in the crowd with the sign chants. Jet City back to full strength as Trixie's trashing him comes in off of her penalty. And Gur Rar Rar is through and is your lead jammer.
Wonder Dread relegated to the back of the pack. Judo Chop and Trixie's trashing him, trying to hold the line, but Psychotic Rage and Lauren Neal break up that 2-wall at the back of the pack, but Judo Chop able to take down Wonder Dread. And Gur Rar Rar coming around, that's a 5 points. Grand slam for Jet City. So Jet City starting to put a little dent in this massive lead that Emerald City built up. And now Wonder Dread got a vicious hit, took a little bit on her jaw, but picks herself right back up and races ahead, finds an outside lane, just brushes right past Nasty Nikki Nightstick. Not an easy thing to do. But Gur Rar Rar taken down in turn 2, calls off the jam, 3 more points, makes it 8 points. Instant replay of the previous jam, 8-0 Jet City.
Marilyn Gunho with the shoulder to the head sends her to the box. Mr. Smouth, what do you have over on track 1? Or 2. This is track 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. Over on track 2, we've got Port Scandalous roller girls, the juniors, up against Foco Spartan Babes. And with less than 10 minutes into the first, it's, oh boy, Foco 7, Port Scandalous 107.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smouth, for that update. Jalapeno jamming for Emerald City. Gets out first for lead jammer. Ivana Hercha finds a wide open inside lane. Dolldozer taking all 3 Emerald City blockers to the outside, single-handedly opening up that lane. I mean, Deadline was in the mix too, but she was on the opposite side of that. So that was just a Dolldozer in true form, opening up a wide lane, but here comes Jalapeno. She is on her first scoring pass. Wow, she just batters Dolldozer out of the way. Oh, but she's going to get a cutting the track major. That's going to give Jet City a power jam. Ivana Hercha comes through, grand slam so far. Now, Jalapeno was on a scoring pass, so she does have points that have not yet been registered, potentially. Ivana Hercha, though, a second time, gets right around, killing Sicilian and Medusa Harm. No trouble at all. Another grand slam, 10 points so far. I believe this is the highest scoring jam so far for Jet City, and she does it again. 15 points, Jet City. And Jet City at full strength, I think for the first time since the very first jam. Or rather, since 10 seconds into the very first jam. But Ivana Hercha now actually getting slowed down, finally. Medusa Harm and Killing Sicilian working well together. But now Medusa Harm goes to the penalty box. Ivana Hercha, another grand slam. 20 points so far for Jet City. And now Grace Golden makes first contact. Killing Sicilian finishes the job, sends Ivana Hercha out of bounds. Ivana Hercha has to recycle. Marilyn Gunho trying to get control of those defenders. And Ivana Hercha able to weave around the Emerald City defenders. Gets out for another grand slam, 25. Jet City, now Jalapeno looking to complete her first scoring pass now. Moves right up the center, but gets caught on point by Judo Chop, and now Marilyn Gunho moving up, and there's Daldover comes in and makes contact with the shoulder, but Jalapeno able to brush it off, and that's the end of the jam. 4 points for Jalapeno to 29 points for the Jet City Bombers.
And that is a lead change, so you are officially allowed to have a sip of water or whatever beverage you choose. Another case of the one skate cut. They're clearly calling the cutting the track very tightly, at least on the inside.
And it looks like a new jammer, Psychotic Rage, number 1, 2, 3 for Emerald City. Pippi Longstalker stepping back in for Jet City. Aerial strike knocked Pippi Longstalker out of bounds and drops her back almost to the pivot, almost to the jammer line. Psychotic Rage going against Marilyn Gunho and Trixie's Trash, and Marilyn Gunho knocks her out of bounds, forces her to recycle way back. Pippi Longstalker knocked down, but able to come back in without losing too much ground, and gets out, but does not get lead jammer. Psychotic Rage opportunity still available, and there she goes. She gets lead jammer for Jet City. And calls off the jam, for Emerald City, and calls off the jam, stopping Pippi Longstalker's from getting into the pack. No points for either team.
An excellent defensive call off of the jam. Obviously trailing, not going to pick up points before Pippi did. Next up we got Gurarar back on the jammer line, up against Wonder Dread for the Emerald City.
And
Skatesaphrenics. I cannot pronounce that word. I think it's the capital letters that are throwing me off.
Well, just pronounce the capital letters then.
Satan? Well, who is that?
You know what else we have? We have an empty penalty box. We have both teams at full stride. Said it and then now it's a lie. Killing Sicilian heading to the penalty box. Gurarar for Jet City gets out of the pack, completing her first pass, and she is lead jammer. Wonder Dread going one-on-one with Doll Dozer. Now Deadline comes in, makes it a 2-wall in. Morticia Melissa joins the party and takes Wonder Dread out on the outside of turn 3. Gurarar hits the back on her first scoring pass, but immediately knocked out with a shoulder check from Lauren Neal. Number 2 for Emerald City. Gurarar now races ahead, gets around Ogden, and completes that pass. Calls off the jam. 4 points, Jet City.
With those 4, Jet City taking the lead to 54 to 47. Mistress Mouth, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I just want to bring some attention to our featured charity for this weekend, George's House. It's a women's shelter for women and children. They've got a booth over by the bathroom. Check them out and donate if you can.
Betty Aim jamming for Emerald City against Ivana Hercha for the Jet City Bombers. Betty Aim fire. I should actually look at the paper and not read the screen that cuts that off.
Betty Aimfire stuck at the back of the pack behind Trixie's Trashing Him and Judo Chop, but Trixie's Trashing Him going to the penalty box. There's Ivana Hercha already out of the pack. She is lead jammer, but Betty Aimfire getting out of the pack as well. Now the pack decimated down. We're down to 2-on-2. Aerial strike makes contact with Ivana Hercha. Ivana Hercha struggles to get back in, calls off the jam, but does get all 4 points for Jet City. So a 4-0 jam. And now Jet City, after starting out 41 points in the hole, is now 11 points ahead.
Penalties were definitely causing that a lot of that deficit. Bit of a light pack right now. We got 2 sitting down for both teams, although your Emerald City has the pivot standing, so that won't last too long. Pippi Longstalker jamming again for Jet City, up against Psychotic Rage for Emerald City.
Lauren Neal and Ogden working together, but unable to stop Pippi Longstalker. Bulldozer and Deadline managing to control Psychotic Rage for a little while, but Psychotic Rage gets the best of them. And now both jammers making their way around into scoring position. Pippi Longstalker hits the pack first, though, gets right past Skill and Sicilian, and Ogden turns around too late. Pippi Longstalker completing her pass, and once again, deja vu. We got 4 points for Jet City. That's because this is the third time that happened.
And it looks like I'm going to just shut up and go away now. Clearly that's not working. Wonder Dread jamming for Emerald City against Eva Derchi.
That's right, a fresh jammer for the Jet City Bombers. Eva Derchi gets around Medusa Harm, but Wonder Dread, Wonder Dread got out, but gets a no pass, no penalty. So Eva Derchi is the lead jammer. Wonder Dread gets into the back first, but passes her teammates, and Eva Derchi calls off the jam. It's going to be scoreless, 0-0. That is what scoreless means.
That does indeed. A scoreless jam, not necessarily bad, although not really that good either because you're not scoring any points. Currently, Jet City sitting with 3 in the penalty box, 2 standing, 1 sitting down. Well, while we're taking this official review timeout, we do have an announcement from the Emerald City Roller Girls. They would like to wish a happy birthday to 2 of their skaters who are, in fact, having birthdays today, Juicebox and Genesis O'Sin. So if we can all cheer. I'm not going to lead a song because no one needs to hear that. Plus, I don't believe we can afford the royalties. But happy birthday to them.
Emerald City with 2 skaters in the box, but 1 standing up, Jalapeno, and 1 sitting down. That's Lauren Neal. That gives us a 2-on-1 pack to start with. Ogden jamming for the first time for Emerald City against Gurr jamming for Jet City. Ogden up the inside, gets around Bulldozer. Gurr just wins the race around the turn against Rockarola and claims lead jammer. Ogden failed to get lead jammer. Gurr claiming it and manages to repeat. We have another scoreless jam.
Gurr doing a little defensive jamming at the beginning there. Got through, got the lead call. I think she was waiting for her team to get released from the box before calling things off once she saw she was a bit behind. Now Jalapeno jamming again for Emerald City up against Ivana Hercha.
That's right, we have a 3-on-3 pack. Each team down 1 blocker. Ivana Hercha looking for the inside lane, but Ariel Strike and Jill Catino solid on the blocking, and Copernicus dropping back to be the rear guard. Jalapeno going up against a 3-wall. We've got Nasty Nikki Nightstick, Marilyn Gunho, and Tabula Rasa. Tabula Rasa at the back, holding up Jalapeno, but Jalapeno dodges, but there is Marilyn Gunho catching her. Dodges around Marilyn Gunho. Now it is Nasty Nikki Nightstick, and now she's just all the way to the back of the pack. Things are happening fast out there. Ivana Hercha gets knocked to the inside, has to recycle all the way to the back of the pack. Both jammers just struggling, getting beaten down. Of course, this is also one of those rare, highly populated packs we've seen in this game. We've seen more than half of the game so far. We've had at least half of the pack in the penalty box, it seems, or that's the way it seems. And there we go, 2 blockers, Copernicus and Marilyn Gunho, 1 blocker from each team back in the penalty box, back to a 3-on-3 pack. But Jalapeno has managed to get out. She is lead jammer. Ivana Hercha also out of the pack on her initial pass. But Jalapeno now finally starting to put points on the board for Emerald City, potentially. Gets in there, calls off the jam, doesn't complete the pass, but does get 3 points for Emerald City.
Jalapeno hit the gap perfectly, snuck in front, called it off.
Excuse me, Betty aimed fire. Sorry, I could only see a part of her elbow at the time. But Pippi Longstalker makes short work of those 2, but Wonder Dread also making short work of the pack. Pippi Longstalker moving into a defensive stance. She has established lead jammer. And now is looking to just slow down Wonder Dread, but Wonder Dread pours on the speed, gets her on the outside, but Pippi Longstalker manages to get back in front of her. Pippi Longstalker in full defensive mode. Wonder Dread struggling, go back and forth, just trying to get past Pippi Longstalker, but now the pack has almost caught up to the 2 jammers. and now beginning to absorb them, but it's Emerald City in front with the advantage in pack position. Right now looks like Morticia Militia trying to get ahead of them, but Betty aimed fire. Oh, Wonder Dread actually caught up by the pack, and that is what is called feeding the baby, or you may have your own term for it, but with some of us around here call it feeding the baby. Perfectly executed, if drawn out. But Pepe Longsucker now a full lap and has lapped. Wonder Dread gets a whip from Marilyn Gunho to get out of the pack. 5 points. A grand slam for Jet City, and Wonder Dread has completed her initial pass, but has to do it all over again after being reabsorbed into the pack. The pack now at full strength, 4-on-4, and Wonder Dread moving into, it looks like she's moving into defensive stance. Pippi Longsucker on a second scoring pass, quickly gets around Betty Aimfire and Rockarola. Marilyn Gunho giving her a little helping hand, getting out of the back. 10 points so far for Jet City. Wonder Dread almost looked like she had given up all hope of getting out of the pack. Time runs out, and that's going to be a 10-0 jam for the Jet City Bombers.
Marilyn Gunho offering some choice encouragement to her team during that baby eating scenario. As Pippi was holding back, she encouraged them, I think, to skate a little faster to catch up and complete the baby consumption. Grace Golden jamming for Emerald City against Ava Derchi for Jet City.
550.
Yeah, just wanted to say, Scott, there's a big difference between feeding the baby and eating the baby. Just Eva Derchi jamming for the Jet City Bombers, gets out first for lead jammer. And we've got Grace Golden jamming. I believe this is her first time jamming for Emerald City in this game, but she's at the front going one-on-one with Nasty Nikki Nightstick, but Nasty Nikki Nightstick matching her move for move. But now, no, Nasty almost looked like she had gone wide, but Grace Golden not able to capitalize on that out of position by Nasty Nikki Nightstick, this time getting out. So finally had to work hard going one-on-one with Nasty Nikki Nightstick. But here's Eva Derchi of the Jet City Bombers all the way through the pack, one-on-one with Lauren Neal, but Lauren Neal wins that duel. But Eva Derchi calling off the jam, settling for 3 points for the Jet City Bombers. But now the Jet City Bombers with a 25-point lead with 8 minutes left in the first half.
Gurarar back to jamming for Jet City up against Jalapeno for your Emerald City Skatesaphrenics. Hey, I said it right that time. I might have this down by the end of the day. If I have any voice left at the end of the day, we'll see.
Gurarar knocked to the outside, but Rockarola sent to the penalty box. And now Slick also going to the penalty box, and everyone going to the penalty box. In fact, everyone with with a 0 in their number on Jet City going to the penalty box. But they're matched by Ogden and Rockarola. But right now, that's a power jam with Jalapeno just getting out of the pack on her first scoring pass. 5 points for Emerald City. Emerald City, oh, it looks like 3-on-3 now with Ogden returning to the pack, but Jalapeno coming around a second time. Manages to get the better of Dolldozer and Morticia Militia. Another 5, that makes it 10 so far in this jam. Jalapeno around again. Facing a 3-wall, Deadline and Morticia Militia. Morticia Militia going to the penalty box. So it's going to be a full penalty box for Jet City. Only 2 blockers left on the track. That's Deadline and Dolldozer. Jalapeno comes around the 4th time, and this time just collides with Deadline, knocks her to the ground, but Dolldozer is going to sweep up after, knocks Jalapeno to the inside. Jalapeno has to recycle all the way back to turn 2, but now it's one-on-one with Dolldozer. Finally runs out of room, and Jalapeno gets out another grand slam. 20 points for Emerald City, and that just reduces the lead to almost nothing. A 5-point game with 6 minutes to go in the first half.
That multiple penalty thing, once again, jumping up to cause Jet City a little trouble. We didn't realize that Jam 16 was the if you have a 0 in your number, you have to go to the box penalty, or jam, but apparently it was. Betty aimed fire against Ivana Hercha, a pairing we've seen at least once, maybe twice before. as Jet City sits with 2 in the box.
Betty Aimfire looking for that inside lane, but Marilyn Gunho and Nasty Nikki Nightstick on guard. Marilyn Gunho with a shoulder check. Betty Aimfire looking for that inside lane, but Marilyn Gunho and Nasty Nikki Nightstick on guard. Marilyn Gunho with a shoulder check knocks Betty Aimfire out of bounds, has to recycle.
And we've just been informed that Laura Neal, number 2 for Emerald City, has been ejected for the gross misconduct elbow to the head.
It's Copernicus that she is serving the penalty for Lauren Neal right now. So Copernicus did not do anything bad. She's just taking care of her friend, or substituting in for her friend.
She's doing the time for her friend. But she will get to observe the orbital factor, the way that the skaters revolve around the center of the track, which is good, she being Copernicus and all.
Well, we've got Grace Golden still at the back of the pack. Pippi Longstalker, though, gets sent out for a multiplayer block. That is rare for a jammer, but that's going to give a power jam to Emerald City. Grace Golden has gotten out of the pack and gets a lead. She is lead jammer. And now it is, I believe that was a major backlock on Slick of Jet City, and that leaves us with a 2-on-2 pack as Aerial Strike also sent to the penalty box. But it's still a power jam. Morticia Militia 1-on-1 with Grace Golden. Grace Golden just manages to stay in. I think she went up on 2 wheels to stay in bounds, but manages to get a second grand slam. Now Grace Golden going up against a 3-on-2 pack. Jet City with 3 blockers out there. Morticia Militia knocks her to the inside. A little help from Deadline, but recycles, comes back in, and now it's a 3-on-3 pack. Emerald City back to 3 blockers, but still the only jammer on the track. Dolldozer and Morticia Militia trying to hold her back, but Grace Golden forges ahead, gets out a 3rd grand slam. 15 points so far, Emerald City. And now the pack is stratified 2 rows of 3, and as Pippi Longstalker gets back in, completing her initial pass and makes short work of it. Grace Golden on her 4th scoring pass. Ogden and Rock'n'Rolla and Aerial Strike doing a nice job trying to get their jammer through, but Golden gonna have to settle for 4 points in that last scoring pass. 19 points so far total for Emerald City, nothing for Jet City, and that's another lead change, Scott.
It is indeed, and now the officials could be forced to drink, but apparently they're discussing something. Right at the end, we had another forearm penalty on Jet City, taking them to 2 deficit in the pack. With 1, Copernicus enjoyed her time in the penalty box so much that she got another penalty and went back on her own.
And that leaves us with a 3-on-2 pack advantage for Emerald City. Eva Derchi for Jet City is jamming against Jalapeno. Jalapeno gets out of the pack, but Eva Derchi races ahead. But Jalapeno snatched lead jammer right out from under her and calls off the jam. It's going to be no score, no pass, no nothing.
A beautiful piece of defensive calling off of the jam. Don't give up the lead. Other teams got the lead on you. Call it off. Start over. Try it again. Wonder Dread jamming again against Gurarar for the Jet City, the Emerald Cities and the Jet Cities respectively.
And a 3-on-2 pack advantage for Emerald City. Aerial Strike, Jill Catino and Ogden in the front row for Emerald City. But there it is. Wonder Dread gets out, but Gurarar right behind her. But Wonder Dread in control with lead jammer. And she's going to go ahead and call it off as Gurarar slows her down. Looked like she was that's a feed the baby maneuver, but of course Wonder Dread in control with lead jammer. So it's really just an incentive to call it off.
Exactly. Right. Why not start over again? Because she wasn't in the lead, or she wasn't the lead, and obviously she wasn't going to continue to play the game. Now we have Pippi Longstalker up against Golden once again. Still 2-1 in the box since we haven't quite elapsed a minute.
Pippi Longstalker with a quick move off the jammer line, finds an inside lane but gets knocked to the infield. And there is Grace Golden, gets out first for lead jammer. Looks like Medusa Harm going to the penalty box. That's going to even up the pack for Jet City. Pippi Longstalker does get out of the pack, but it has some catching up to do. Both jammers moving into scoring position. Now it's a 3-on-3 pack as Grace Golden hits the back on her first scoring pass. Slick and Marilyn Gunho force her to the outside, and she calls it off from out of bounds and is going to get 3 points for Emerald City. And Jet City so far scoreless, I believe, in the last 3 jams.
They have, but now they do have the pack back to full strength as the last blocker came out. 1 still sitting for Emerald City. We got Jalapeno jamming against David Erchi in this last jam of the half.
This time Jet City with the pack advantage, 4-on-3. Jalapeno looking for the inside lane and finds moves right up the center, almost caught by Dolldozer, but Dolldozer runs out of room and Jalapeno claims lead jammer and is out of there. Eva Derchi looks for the inside lane. Aerial strike is there guarding that line, but Eva Derchi dodges around the outside and gets out of the pack. Both jammers moving into scoring position, but Jalapeno gets there first. Finding all 4 Jet City blockers ready for her, gets knocked immediately to the infield and crashes into Dolldozer and gets a penalty. That's a cutting the track major. So cutting the track on Emerald City's jammer, that means that Eva Derchi is on the power jam and there is no lead jammer. Jalapeno loses that status as soon as she's directed to the box. So right now, Eva Derchi, 5 points. A grand slam for Jet City. The first points they've put on the board in a while. And Eva Derchi crashes through again, gets past Psychotic Rage and Aerial Strike to get another grand slam. 10 points so far for Jet City. And now Medusa Harm, fresh out of the penalty box, joins the Emerald City blockers to make it a 3-wall, but Eva Derchi just forces her way through, and another grand slam for Jet City, and that ties up the score right now. But Jet City still with the advantage, the only jammer on the track. Medusa Harm immediately knocks Eva Derchi out of bounds on her 4th scoring pass. But she dodges around, gets right in between Psychotic Rage and Medusa Harm to get out another grand slam, and that puts Jet City in the lead. Now we have a lead change, and now through again. That was a perfect Red Rover move, straight between the 2 blockers. 5 more points for Jet City. Looks like Coop going back to the penalty box for Emerald City, so that leaves Emerald City still with only 2 blockers on the track. Jet City at full strength, but here comes Jalapeno. Jalapeno out of the penalty box as jammer for Emerald City, but time runs out. A 25-point jam for Jet City right at the end of the period puts them in the lead. Jalapeno getting 4 points on her scoring pass. That gives them a score of 100. The score is 106-96. Jet City in the lead.